Good day. This is Bulls in Red. Today we're talking about RB Leipzig's new Managing Director of Sport, Marcel Schäfer. Find out why Richard is so surprised.
No fucking way. Excuse me. If you'd have asked me, I would have told you this must have been as Erich Ribbeck was in charge.
But in the end, his verdict about Marcel Schäfer is quite positive.
And is not that kind of guy that turns his back to his duties as soon as there's a more attractive woman or club.
And of course, we're going to have a closer look at our next opponent, 1. FC Union Berlin.
It's annoying as hell.
I know. And find out about Niklas Seiwald's important mission. Nicholas, your task for this year is to make Richard a fan of yours.
And it's not that hard.
Welcome to Bulls in Red. Welcome to Bulls in Red, your weekly footy podcast about RB Leipzig. We're at home at Leipzig, and every week we invite you to have a look at our RB Leipzig world. Richard and Mario, say hello. So, good evening, Richard. How are you tonight?
Good evening, Mario. Thank you. I'm fine. Trouble fine. Let's go.
Thank you very much. Glad to have you with us. And yeah, let's move on to our first topic. And I thought it is a good time to introduce the new Managing Director of Sport. And after the completion of the transfer window, I think this is appropriate and a good time to have a look of who that Marcel Schäfer, or like you say, Marcel Schäfer, actually is. Marcel Schäfer is only 40 years old, and quite recently he was playing for VfL Wolfsburg, well, kind of from 2007 until 2017, he was the attacking left back, and I kind of remember that time as well. And in this time, he earned about 300 caps with VfL Wolfsburg, did score 16 times and had 51 assists. And do you remember as well, Richard, he actually played for Germany as well. He had 8 caps for Germany. I don't remember that too much, but he was part of Jogi Löw's squad. I think Jogi is responsible for...
No way.
Yeah, according to the sources that I checked.
Jogi Löw? No fucking way. Excuse me. If you'd have asked me, I would have told you that this must have been as Erich Ribbeck was in charge. Oh my gosh.
So maybe from 2007 till 2017. Yeah, it is quite possible. It's feasible. Anyways, he's now the Managing Director of Sport, and he's the boss of the sporting director, Ruven Schröder. So Marcel Schäfer succeeds Max Eberl, who left in very unpleasant terms with RB Leipzig. And he's been around now for a couple of weeks, almost a couple of months. And we just like to introduce him just to tell you who he is, what he thinks about RB Leipzig, RB Leipzig's DNA, and his comments about expectations of RB Leipzig and their fans. So let's get started. I'm taking the information from a piece that was published in the local newspaper Leipziger Volkszeitung LVZ last week. And they had him in a little interview round where he answered a couple of questions. But Marcel is actually from Bavaria, but he's from the part of Bavaria, which is close to Hesse. And the city's called Aschaffenburg. And I remember we used to call the people who are from Aschaffenburg 5 Minuten Bayer, which means he's just 5 minutes away from Hessen. So he's not really a real Bavarian, but just pretends to be. So he's from Aschaffenburg. But again, he played for VfL Wolfsburg for quite a long time, from 2007 till 2017. And following his football career at Wolfsburg, he did something really smart. I mean, he joined for one season the Tampa Bay Rowdies, and the Tampa Bay Rowdies actually present in the second US Soccer League, something I never heard of before. But he must have liked Florida because he was playing for the Tampa Bay Rowdies. He scored 32 goals, so that just shows you the level. And during his time at Tampa Bay, he managed to take some internships at a couple of clubs. They're a little bit more well-known, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are part of the NHL, and Tampa Bay Rays, who are part of the Major League Baseball organization. So I think he used his time there really wisely. And in the summer of 2018, he decided to retire and return to VfL Wolfsburg, where he then held the position of sporting director, and for a couple of years. And this is something I actually remember when he was sporting director over there. So he was with a club which is owned by Volkswagen GmbH, and you could, as a traditional fan, dislike VfL Wolfsburg as well because, they have just unlimited funds. But at the moment, Volkswagen is a little bit in trouble. Anyways, since the summer, he's been here. And he has something in common with RB Leipzig, and that's the year 2009. Because in 2009, his son was born, and RB Leipzig was born. And also in 2009, remember who was crowned champions of the Bundesliga? Bloody VfL Wolfsburg. Remember? Under coach Felix Magath.
Oh, yeah. And Grafite and Checo.
Ah, wow. Beautiful. Actually,
they rocked the league back in those days.
I rooted for them at the time because, it meant Bayern München was not the champion. And it was a crazy season, yes. But 2009, he knows what it feels like when you win the league. So I think this can only be positive. And it seems like he's a character who's very dedicated and disciplined. He does get up every morning at 5 o'clock and he does a 60 minutes workout. I find this really amazing. He does live in Leipzig. He hasn't moved his family to Leipzig yet. But when he was asked about his first few weeks, he just thinks that it has been very positive. And during the first two matches versus Bochum, Bayern 04, Leverkusen, everybody could see the potential that the team actually has. And on the transfer window, he comments that most of the objectives have been achieved, but it has only been possible because there has been a great teamwork and dedication. To be honest, it sounds like marketing speak, and everybody would tell you that, and corporational talk, but I actually believe that. I think this is an organization which only lives through that anyway, and has a clear plan, and they follow that through with the right people. But Marcel Schäfer is also fully aware of the RB Leipzig philosophy, mainly developing players further, talents further, and that enables RB Leipzig to mostly play a successful type of football. So he fully buys into that philosophy and our DNA. And he was also asked about his decision to leave VfL Wolfsburg. And something really interesting actually came up because he said that he has always been in touch with Mario Gomez. And Mario Gomez, of course, you don't see in public so much. And I'm not really sure if he really wants to be associated with Red Bull all the time because, he comes from a very successful career with VfB Stuttgart for a long time. And I'm not really sure if he, really wants to be associated with it. But nevertheless, he's now technical director, or has been for a couple of years, technical director at Red Bull Soccer International. And they've been in touch on a regular basis. And when the offer to join RB Leipzig came up, Marcel, took a couple of days off and talked it over with his family and decided to join RB Leipzig, which caused some really not very positive reactions. So Wolfsburg, he did say that his children were actually receiving threats and he had to pick him up from school, take him to school because he was afraid something would happen to them. But you have to bear in mind as well that his time at Wolfsburg was quite long. It was, I think, almost 17 years. But these reactions are completely unnecessary. And he was also asked about RB Leipzig and winning the league with RB Leipzig. And he says, for this to happen, everything has to go in the right way. Everything has to work out just the right way, the same as everything has worked out last year for Bayer Leverkusen. Just bear in mind, they never lost last year, for example. And for how many times did we watch them coming back in the late window of the matches? It's just amazing. But you never know. And he knows what it feels like to be top of the league. But he also comments on RB Leipzig on a regular basis transferring top players, and he refers to Joško, Christo, or Šopo, for example. And he does state that this is vital for RB Leipzig to do this each year for economic reasons. And it does have a positive side effect as well, because the funds that they take into from these sales, they're able in the position, or they put them in the position to attract really young, highly talented players like Antonio Nusa or Arthur Vermeeren and this guy, which I'll never pronounce in the right way. I think that is quite interesting. He has noticed also that the expectation levels have certainly risen in Leipzig over the last couple of years. And when he's asked how to meet those expectations, or one could suspect that we all, are ready for that trophy of the Bundesliga to win the league, he remains quite vague, because he kind of refers to the circumstances. He said, in order to achieve the maximum, which obviously is the goal of RB Leipzig, it all depends on circumstances and overcoming obstacles, how a team can overcome obstacles or bad situations. For example, key players are injured for a long time, like Dani Olmo, for example, for a long time. But just imagine if we have, Xavi being, he's never been injured for a long time, but if he's injured and maybe also Gopenda, then okay, it is a different way. So I guess what he's trying to say is there's always a certain maximum that you can get out of a season, but there is one minimum requirement, and that is to participate in the Champions League. So it is something that we actually all knew or have known for a long time, that the minimum objective is to reach the Champions League. But anything beyond that, I think it's all according to the circumstances at the time. He is, however, very positive about Marco Rose, and something I learned in this article, which I didn't know before. Marcel Schäfer tried to get Marco Rose to work at Wolfsburg in 2019, but Rose then went to Borussia Mönchengladbach at the time. And he really values Marco because he knows that Marco can form teams. He can develop players, young players, talented players further, put them onto the next or level after that level. And he also knows that he's very good with leading his staff. He's got a team of about 40 people. I didn't realize that, which he needs to manage. And what I think we can pick up as well from the sidelines and the way Marco articulates himself during press conferences and interviews, he is very close to the team. He lives every moment through the team as well. And according to Marcel, he gets the feeling that Marco Rose is also on the pitch. I think we saw that during the game when he received 2 yellow cards. I think he would have been on the pitch to complain instead of the captain. Marcel is convinced that RB Leipzig can reach the, in quotation marks, maximum with Marco Rose. So I think this really helps in terms of pressure in order to get trophies and titles. I think this will, in the beginning, not come from Marcel Schäfer. It'll be more the CEO and the top management of RB Leipzig or Red Bull. Another interesting aspect that he answered is the question, does RB Leipzig need a junior team like an under-23 team? And for a while, we had that many years ago. And the problem with that is, according to Marcel Schäfer, that it is really not feasible, because the gap between the league, the quality that is required for playing in the league of the under-23, which is effectively a second team of RB Leipzig, and the first team, which is in the top tier of the Bundesliga, is too great. Remember, RB Leipzig, an under-23 team, would very likely play in the Regionalliga, and that's like the 4th tier of German football, and it's not a single league, it's like a regional league. And currently we have the likes of Lokomotive Leipzig or Chemie Leipzig in that league, so it's not total professional football in that sense. It's totally different. And the gap is just too large. So instead, what they are trying to do is to invest their time and effort and money into their own academy. And they claim there have already been profits or benefits visible. I think in the foreseeable future, we're not going to see a junior team, an under-23 team of RB Leipzig. He also comments on his relationship with his boss, Oliver Minzlaff. Well, I'm sure kind of is his boss, who's the CEO of corporate projects and investments at Red Bull GmbH. And he claims that he gets open and honest feedback and he's clear about expectations that Oliver Minzlaff may have. So he values that. And he also comments on his relationship with Ruven Schröder, the sporting director that reports to him. And they're both similar in the sense of that they all also have been professional football players or soccer players. They're both team players. They value teamwork a lot. Ruven Schröder apparently has a huge network, or a very good network, and he has worked in more clubs as a sporting director than Marcel Schäfer. So he values his experience. And it seems that Ruven Schröder is a good communicator. So I think the two of them seem to be getting along very well, judging by these comments over here. So now we know a little bit more about Marcel Schäfer. We know which position he's in, what his background is. And I am really positive about that because he seems to be dedicated, a lot more dedicated than Max Ebel. And so he wouldn't jump ship straight away to when Uli Hoeneß knocks on the door or somebody else. So I think he's grounded and he will stay for a couple of years. Seems to fit in very, very well. What I also learned from this is, well, we always have to accept the fact that RB Leipzig needs to generate funds from selling top players. And it's always going to happen. And they're going to continue down this road to attract young players to develop and sell them on. And continue their and accompany their development for a couple of years' time. But I think even with that, we have seen progress. Because if you look at the players they are hiring or adding to the squad now, that is different from 5-6 years ago. And it's on a higher level. So maybe it does work. Maybe it is possible to be successful, to win trophies, while developing player and then selling them on. We will have to see. It's still going to be something which is really interesting to follow. But hey, the minimum objective is that the Champions League qualification is reached, that we are able to play in the Champions League in the next season. And I think obviously it's going to be economic reasons, attracting the right players. Reputation, I think reputation has increased with the continuous participation of RB Leipzig in the Champions League as well, and that just supports continuous positive development of the club. I think we're on the right track there. And also, I think Marco Rose should be able to continue his work with the team under let's say Marcel or with Marcel Schäfer on board, so they're not going to clash. I think they can continue working together really well. So I'm quite positive looking forward. Not sure if it's going to be matching your bold prediction, but I think we're going to be in for a very good and exciting season. So there you go. This is my take and introduction of Marcel Schäfer.
Wonderful, thank you. I haven't read the article or the interview that you mentioned. I guess it was Weltexklusiv from Guido Schäfer.
Not sure. Couldn't find it, but okay. It was something I picked up last week and I thought this is interesting, especially after our last episode when we did talk about the transfer window in more detail. So I think this just follows it up before we go back to bread and butter football.
Oh, it sounds interesting and promising as well. So, yeah, you named it. He seems like he has a plan for himself and what he wants to achieve. And is not that kind of guy that turns his back to his duties as soon as there's a more attractive woman or club or whatsoever around the corner, or a more attractive 70-year-old president from an infamous club.
Don't want to mention any names.
No. Comparabilities are by accident. So yeah, I'm hyped, and that will be a nice story if our club develops further with him for years, and if we talked about for quite a while to close those gaps, to close those vacant spots in the front office, and it seems now that we finally managed, or that the Oliver Minzlaff and the other people in charge in the Red Bull universe managed to find proper replacements, and hopefully this will turns into a bright future for the next 5 to 10 years.
Exactly. So, enough about that. Let's move on to something completely different. And, well, the Bundesliga returns this weekend, and I'm really happy for it. But one more thing about Germany playing the Netherlands, I have to say, it was really funny because you saw David Raum playing for Germany, and then Xavi playing for the Netherlands. And Xavi was really active, really good. And every time they sort of clashed, you were just hoping none of them get injured. And you were kind of wondering, how do they actually compete with each other? Because they know each other from training, from their own club. And can you imagine one of them injuring the other, and you come back to Leipzig and you see, oh shit, I can't play because of you. So I was just really relieved that none of them got injured. Everybody came back. Benny, of course, wasn't on the pitch. He didn't get any minutes. But, you know, who got some minutes, who came in? This guy. There you go. So we saw all of them. Anyway, so yes, who's coming to town this weekend, Richard?
Union Berlin.
Oh my God, not again.
Yeah.
Can I?
It's,
oh, sorry.
Yeah? No, you go first.
Yes, because I picked something up from a Berlin newspaper today, a Berliner Kurier. Yeah. And recently, RB Leipzig women played the women of Union Berlin. Yeah. And Union Berlin actually played in the cup, in the German cup, in the DFB Pokal. I think it was the first round, wasn't it? Yeah, it was the first round. The women of RB Leipzig, as the team, which is in the top flight, in the highest tier of the Bundesliga, as the Bundesliga, now the second season, played Union Berlin at Berlin, who are one league below that, in the second league, and they lost. So now this article kind of started. Union Berlin is aiming to repeat that with their men's team at Leipzig this weekend. And there's one with tradition, one Kabelwerk Oberspree tradition, which they're going to keep up. And you know what it is. They're going to boycott the first 15. So, hey, RB Leipzig fans, no need for boycott this time. No, not like versus Bochum. Let Union Berlin do that. So every time I think they came here and they had to play in Leipzig, they did the same thing. For the first 15 minutes, they remained silent. They even vacated their section, I think, and then they came roaring in after 15 minutes. And I remember, I think it was probably the first time Union Berlin had to travel to play RB Leipzig. Those supporters were absent for 45 minutes because instead they went to neighboring Leutsch through the woods to watch the match of Chemie Leipzig versus Union Berlin. There was some sort of match there, or friendship match going on. And then they came back, and by the time they came back, I think RB Leipzig was up 3-0 or something. So I'm looking forward to this like last year, because last season they did the same thing, and this happened. So after 11 minutes, Goalpenda scored. And I think we should do the same thing again, you know. Just let them be quiet. We just chant. We just have our fun. And hopefully we're up by 2. And that just puts the game to bed, hopefully. But Richard, I must tell you, when they come back, you can look forward to something like this. Quite often and continuously during the game, and that can really lull you in, can't it?
Of course, but what are chanting? Would you tell to our international listeners? Because I'm struggling getting this as well. Yeah,
to be honest, I'm just guessing here, but it sounds to me like forwards, Union Berlin. Hey. But maybe I'm making this up. But I'm not 100% sure, because it's just the continuous melody.
Anyway, it's annoying as hell.
I know. Yeah. It's just the way they used to play. But hey, Richard, I know you looked into the squad and it looks like a reset button has been pressed by the Eisernen Rostigen, because last year they had a dreadful season, didn't they? After they qualified for the Champions League for the first time.
Introducing our next opponent, their Gegnercheck.
Of course, yeah, you said it, hit a reset button, at least at the important buttons of this whole squad. But let's take a look at the 2023-24 campaign, or better, one season before that, when they were qualifying for the Champions League. You named it. And after they qualified, they acquired Robin Gosens from Bergamo. They acquired Bonucci. I think he came from... I don't
even remember that, but now that you mention it, yeah, he was there.
And it seemed like, hey, now we are here to stay in the Bundesliga. We qualified for the first time for the UEFA Champions League. And this is our plan for the upcoming years.
Can I interrupt you for a second? I'm so sorry.
Of course you can.
But this was like a continuous progress, wasn't it? So the first year they stayed in the league, then they qualified for international football, which was, I'm not sure if it was Conference League or Europa League already. And all of a sudden they featured in the Champions League. So it seemed as if this would continue forever, just like with us.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it seemed like a bit like that at least. So, but it did not came out of nothing. So there was a clear plan, a clear business plan, and a clear plan how to develop the squad, which players to acquire that fit into what they were trying to do. And they had this long-time manager, Urs Fischer, who led them all out of the second Bundesliga and was in charge for about, 7, 8, 9 seasons or something like that. Impressive, continuous work, which you don't find that often in this, fast business. But all of a sudden, something went wrong. And it seemed like they could not fit or find any proper fit to replace Geraldo Becker. You remember him?
Oh yeah.
It was the go-to guy in this UCL qualifying season. Yeah, it was like Michael Owen in his prime. Where you, at least I felt every time he has a magnet in his shoes, in his cleats, and the balls just.
It was terrifying.
Jumped away, and all of a sudden he was at his foot again. It's like, how do you do this all day long? And Geraldo Becker scored 11 times, added 7 assists in this 2022-23 campaign. And after that season, not one player had double digits in this goal and assistant department for FCU. So the plan with Bonucci to strengthen their defense didn't work out as well. I cannot see what went wrong exactly, but obviously the plan didn't work out as intended.
Mm-hmm.
So they had Robin Gosens. Yes, he was by far the best player. They had Kevin Volland, another nice addition. I've always been a Kevin Volland fan, because I liked his style of play, because he isn't that kind of tall striker. And, he's as tall as me, and I'm not very tall. And
you're a giant.
Compared to you. And but nevertheless,
I let that slide.
Let that sink in, okay?
In your face.
I'm only 160. And no, to be honest. But Kevin Volland is not that a tall kind of guy, but he's somehow managed to be himself, to create chances in the penalty box with nice dribblings. And I thought, okay, wow, now Union, nice addition. But it started not that good for him, because he was sent off, wasn't he?
Yeah.
In this,
That's what I was thinking of immediately.
So, and it seems like this was the beginning of this whole mess, which ended up finally in a somehow long-term injury. He's not fit yet, so he won't be an option for Saturday for Union. He's not around. Bonucci didn't work out. Nevertheless, he isn't around anymore. But on top of that, they lost Robin Gosens, who's now off to Fiorentina, and that hurts. That hurts really, really big.
It was
time
like
for Union.
A last-minute transfer, wasn't it? I think he was preparing for the next Bundesliga match on a Friday afternoon, or even Saturday. I don't know, because that was the end of the No, but
it was just before the Friday evening match versus St. Pauli. And then all of a sudden he wasn't on the roster.
crazy.
Yeah. But he was one of their most, if not the most dangerous player in terms of scoring goals. 6. The most prolific goal scorer with 6 goals. That tells you a lot about those lads who were playing for Union. And the second best in assists with 3. And the best one in the assistant category was Kevin Volland last year, who is not around. I already tell you that. So another one who left is Robin Knoche. Okay, he was a little bit not the youngest anymore. He was like 31, 32, and not the fastest guy, but he never has been. And now he's off to 1. FC Nürnberg. So 3 of them, Volland, Gosens, and Knoche, 3 important cornerstones, I think, in their whole roster are not around anymore. And to be honest, I don't see any proper replacements. And the impressions I got from their first 2 appearances away at Mainz 05, where they ended up in a 1-1 draw in a more lucky fashioned way than it was deserved. So maybe if you look at the whole 90 minutes, it wasn't that bad. But the first 45 minutes was just nothing. And they were lucky that Mainz didn't score more than once. And you mentioned it last Friday or that Friday before, week 2 Bundesliga home game against St. Pauli, and a match that was not on Bundesliga level, and they ended up with a 1-0. Could have been easily a 0-0 draw because 2 weak opponents facing each other. It was a lousy game to watch.
Okay.
So now they're heading to Leipzig, and I'm pretty optimistic that we will end up with a clear win here. But we had 50 matches in total, and guess what? We have 6 losses, and this is the 3rd most against any side in the Bundesliga. We lost only more against Bayern and Dortmund. So, and if you look back, we have always been the favorite in those matches, and all of those Union wins came a little bit unseeable, right? So
I remember the time when we lost each game 2-1.
Yeah, 5 times in a row.
5 times in a row. Hey, but to be
row.
fair, we won the last 2 encounters. So declining now. First one won 3-0. Second, the last one 2-0.
First time at home though.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, true. Because I remember. Yeah, it's a tradition. So we haven't got many. So this is a tradition now for us, not for Union. They hate it that they have to come here.
To wrap things up, even with the new coach, Bo Svensson, and I like him. I think he's a really good manager. That was a good decision. So that Union feels like a bit down to earth again from their high-flying season last year, but they qualified for the UCL and then struggled to not getting relegated into the second Bundesliga. It seems now there is a new down-to-earthness coming to Berlin. And
Can I ask you a question? Sorry. They have a new sporting director as well, Horst Held.
Yeah.
Remember the guy? I know him from Cologne, times at Cologne.
Yeah, Cologne and Schalke, and he played for 1860. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So they have changed things around on several levels. Now, I haven't really heard much about of what he has actually said, and haven't really looked into it. But do you think he's going to be decisive in a new direction, kind of back to earth, and let's get back to being Union Berlin and then developing further?
To me, it seems like that. All signs that, in my opinion, that can come out of Berlin seems just like that. With the experienced coach, a long-term Bundesliga coach who has proven that he can deal with hard circumstances, and it's never easy in Mainz, because Mainz will never be a Bundesliga top side.
But does he fit into Union Berlin, Horst Held? The Schalke Köln background?
Why not?
Maybe it's a good fit, actually.
Why not? Because if you have to in Germany we would say you have to have a thick skin if you work at Schalke, because this is a hot seat.
Yeah.
Every seat in Schalke is a hot seat, and expectations in Cologne are always high as well.
Yeah. Unrealistic and high.
So Regarding to that, I think he is a good fit for Union Berlin because he has gathered some experience in much harder places, in my opinion at least. And I think it's a good way they found for themselves here. Focus on solid additions, focus on not getting relegated, and they seems like they accepted their new role. Yeah, from that uprising star, we talked about it, uprising in the first Bundesliga seasons, always getting better results, better positions at the end of the season, what finally led to the UCL campaign. And now it seems like, okay, we have to take a step back and don't make the same mistakes that Hamburg SV did, and don't make the same mistakes that VfB Stuttgart did, and it wasn't so unnecessary as they was relegated a few years ago. So, yeah, I do hope, really, it's completely honest, that those things will work out for them and that they do not get relegated. So, because I don't like them emotionally, but I do have very, very high level of respect about the work and the effort and the dedication that obviously all people that are around and in this club have shown for years or decades now. Because I remember when I was in the Alfred Kunze Sportpark in Leipzig-Leutsch to watch a competitive match between FC Sachsen Leipzig and Union Berlin. So there was a time when they played at the same level in the same league.
Yeah.
And, Union made their way through the leagues and Sachsen Leipzig, went bankrupt once or twice or 3 times. I cannot count it anymore. So respect to Union.
It's still a long tradition, but same here. I got a lot of respect for them as well. And I do, of course, remember Union Berlin from East German times. But of course, they were founded in 1966, not in a natural way, but it was more a constructed way. And a lot of Union Berlin supporters will not like to hear that. But like with all focus clubs in the East German top league, there was a political will behind it. And for economic support, there was always a company behind it. And there was no free decision of any members. There weren't any members of these clubs. But Union Berlin during East German times, although they were one of those focus clubs, they were always in the shadow of the big club, BFC Dynamo, which represented, of course, something more serious like the Stasi, no? Internal service, so to speak, of national service of East Germany. And they, of course, were the top dog of East German football because they were supported in the highest level. So Union Berlin in the city was always in the shadow of BFC Dynamo. Never had a chance to get past them, really, if everything went right. And it was also a team which either was relegated and then promoted back into the top league of East German football, but always feared of being relegated. And they had competitive encounters with RB Leipzig before. Well, they had to play for a spot in the top league of East Germany, so there's a certain tradition there. But for a club like this, now it took them more than 30 years after unification from 1990. Now, of course, their structure changed and they're this traditional club in the sense that a lot of traditional fans love. But the existence since 1966 till 1990, hey, it was an artificial club. I'm so sorry. But being able in this economic hard circumstances and in the shadow of this big club, Hertha BSC in Berlin, to be able to go through those leagues, from the Regionalliga, the 4th tier, to the 3rd tier, into the 2nd tier, being there for a long time on a solid path. And then all of a sudden, here they are in the Erste Bundesliga now for a couple of years as well, then qualified for European football. And this is the first time, last year was a step back for the first time in that development. And I take my hats off to that. Although I hated the way a lot of Union fans behave in Leipzig, I hate it when this always comes up that RB Leipzig is an artificial club. And in many ways it may be, but I don't give a damn. I really have a lot of respect for their development and that as an East German club, and it is in that sense a true East German club, They managed to get to the Erste Bundesliga, to top level, to play internationally. And I would love them to stay, of course. Of course. It's 6 points we need.
Nice one.
I hope Hertha comes back with another 6 points. Oh my God.
They will never come back.
It's like it's never coming home to England, is it?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm leaving now. Boom.
Should we go on to the starting 11 and then...
Yeah, let me know.
Up here?
What can we expect?
Liebe Fußballfans, wir kommen jetzt zu unserer heutigen Mannschaftsaufstellung.
All right, so Gulaschi in goal. He received 5 most recently, and then he got a rest. So he should be well rested after this horrible Friday night versus Germany. With Orban still suspended, I expect that Rose will go back to his 4-2-2-2 formation, so moving back from 5 defenders. And I expect that Klostermann will replace Bichabu. So we will see Henrichs, Klostermann, Lukeber, and Raum. So with Haidara not around, I think our defensive midfield will be containing out of Kampel and Seiwald.
Okay.
Seiwald had some, national team performances.
Okay.
He was not good. He was solid, not great. He was solid. And come on, boy, show us finally for our colors, okay?
Nicholas, your task for this year is to make Richard a fan of yours.
And it's not that hard. And offensive midfield, my bold prediction here, we will see Nuxa for the very first time from the beginning.
Whoa, looking forward to that.
Yeah. You know what? Because Nuxa over Baumgartner, yes, 24/7.
Okay.
At least for now.
Okay.
I think Baumgartner is a brilliant player, but he's somehow out of form. I don't know. So, and the other 3, of course, Xavi, Openda, and Šeško.
Beautiful.
And even this nice bicycle goal from Yusuf Paulsen versus Serber. I wasn't aware of how smooth he can move and how flexible he is.
Because it looks different on the pitch when we see him, don't we? To me, that's like Thomas Müller vibes sometimes. But hats off to him. And, he didn't hit the head of a defender. So well done.
Yeah.
In the process.
And but on the other hand side, Šeško scored 4 times.
I know.
As he was off for Slovenia. And Goldbender didn't score, but had a nice assist and was awarded with a penalty kick. So
Didn't he miss a penalty as well?
Yeah, but it was the one he was awarded by action that came by himself.
Okay.
So that's okay.
Okay. So what do you predict in terms of score?
Old-fashioned 2-0 win.
I'm really positive today. I'm going for 3-0. And I'm going for a 2-0 within the first 15 minutes of Union Berlin boycotting and protesting. So let's see if I'm going to be right. Thank you. Wonderful. So Richard, this has been really enjoyable. Thank you for your time today. This has been Bulls and Red. And we come to you every week on a Thursday. Try Plus. There are extra episodes whenever we have extra games, like in the UCL Championship, or extra matches in the Bundesliga, and hopefully in the DFB Pokal. Hopefully you stay in there for a while. Now, if you like that podcast, we'd be so delighted if you could subscribe to it on your favorite platform. You can also contact us by an old-fashioned email, which is podcast@bullsandred.com. You can find us on Twitter. The username is podcast_RBL. We are on Instagram. That's Bulls and Red. And you can also find our episodes on YouTube. So let's keep our fingers crossed. Next 3 points at the back would be wonderful. Have yourselves a good rest of the week, great weekend, and we hope to talk to you again next week. So all we need to say now is vielen Dank, Richard, and auf geht's, Leipziger Jungs! Oh yeah.